Coldheart got a nice little buff in Season 19, where it can now generate ionic traces every 2 seconds instead of every 3.5 seconds while at high power. It now maxes stability and reload when at maximum damage, and picking up an ionic trace reduces the time it takes to get to maximum power. Trace rifles have been pretty good ever since receiving some buffs last year. I made a video on them back then, and they're still good. Coldheart has been one of those guns that I've wanted to love for a while now, but even with all of the buffs it has received over the years, still haven't really wanted to use it. Do these buffs change that? Yeah, let's talk about it. This video is going to be pretty similar to the format of the collective obligation video that I did a couple of months ago. I threw on monochromatic Maestro for some rounds of Heist Battlegrounds. By the way, again, love that I actually have a somewhat real, quote-unquote, real area to go test builds in now, since you're always 5 levels underneath, which kind of keeps up the difficulty. And to literally no surprise at all, this thing absolutely shreds, but we've known that. Bungie did nothing to buff the damage of the weapon or trace rifles at all. Its regular damage is good. The ramped up damage is really good. These are known. That being said, I have some criticism for the gun and any sort of build potential. Number one is that while the gun does have a meter while aiming down sights to show your charge level, I would love to be able to see this visually a bit more somewhere else on the screen. I know that, more or less, if you stop shooting the weapon, you're going to lose all of your charge, but they buffed the time it takes for the charge to drop off from basically instantly to now 1 full second back in April of 2022, which means that there are opportunities to stop shooting for a brief moment and boot it back up without losing the charge. I know there's an in-game sound effect as well in terms of how charged you are while you're shooting, but something like what Bungie did recently with the Manticore and Taraba with those little UI elements on the side would be kind of cool. It's not the biggest deal in the world if it doesn't happen though. I tried this weapon out on all 3 classes, and Warlocks, I think this is your gun. Titans, it can be your gun, but my main problem is that I feel like this weapon is sort of overkill on Titan, like it's too much. For example, Heart of Inmost Light build, most popular build. I have too much ability energy already. I have too much ability energy constantly coming in between elemental wells, ionic traces, and mods, and fragments, and whatever else I got going on. The build, the Heart of Inmost Light build, is just throwing abilities nonstop. And then when you have a brief second to do something in between abilities, you pop a shot of something, and then it's right back to your abilities. I found myself torn between tossing all of my abilities and wanting to laser beam the crap out of everything with Coldheart. But Coldheart is kind of at its best when it's at full power, which means holding the trigger down a lot, which means not using your abilities. But once I developed more of a rhythm, this became a bit less problematic. I instead would start with my abilities, get an ionic trace, be closer to full power as a result, and then start lasering things, and that worked a bit better. Even then, you're not going to be able to capitalize on every single ionic trace coming your way. If there was something on this gun where the charge was stored until you started firing, that would be cool, but it'd also be probably a bit too strong, and it kind of gets around the whole concept of having to hold the trigger down for the bonus damage. Like, that's the exotic perk, is hold the trigger down. So getting around that it feels like cheating. This weapon also falls into the trap that most trace rifles do. They do better than primary damage, but not better than just spamming special weapon damage. But given that Season 19's activity is scaled to always be challenging to a degree, that trap isn't as bad. You're going to take out junk enemies really fast, you're going to tear through mid-tier enemies pretty well too, and you're going to be able to laser beam some big boy targets like champions even. The damage is really strong, but it tears through ammo so fast, scavs are a must, maybe a reserve mod too. The seasonal activity in Season 19 supplies a good amount of ammo boxes, but you're not going to have that luxury everywhere. Hunters. You have a similar problem in that your aspects are melee and dodge based, which means you're going to be very active on the field, punching and dodging, weaving in and out of enemies. It's why Liar's Handshake and Assassin's Cowl are so popular. Hunters have Jolt and Blinding built into their aspects too, which is nice and something we're going to be discussing with Warlocks, but Arc seems like much more of a short-range combat setup. It's not that you can't use Coldheart on an Arc Hunter. It's not like it doesn't work. But I just found that Coldheart really finds its footing the best with Warlocks. Warlocks using Fallen Sunstar are also swimming in ability energy with their Arc builds, and while it's not as strong as Titan in terms of damage output, it is pretty close to, if not as strong as Titan when it comes to ability output. Warlocks do have a build that is very active, much like Titan and Hunter, but they also have a more passive build opportunity. If you recall from a previous video, Arc Souls was very recently buffed, getting a dramatic damage increase. So, we can utilize buffed Arc Souls and the more passive gunplay style build that Warlocks can use to really see how strong of an option Coldheart is. So let's explore this a bit more. Arc Soul, throw it on. Electrostatic Mind, throw it on. Ionic Traces, they are going to amplify us. Killing jolted or blinded targets makes an Ionic Trace, but also Arc ability kills. You guys remember when we saw that fragment, Spark of Beacons, and everyone freaked out thinking it was going to be the most busted thing ever, and then no one really did a whole lot with it? Well, guess what element Coldheart is? Yeah, it's time. The fragments we're going to be using are Shock, Beacons, Brilliance, and Ions. Throw a grenade, hit a target to jolt it, and then kill it to make an Ionic Trace. Traces are going to amplify us. While we're amplified, our Arc Soul goes berserk, and Arc special weapon kills create a blinding explosion. Electrostatic Mind makes traces on kills against jolted and blinded targets. If we get a headshot kill, Brilliance then procs, blinding more stuff, and Ions is our backup to make more traces on jolted target kills. As always, if you want to switch some stuff around to fit your playstyle, you can. What exotic? Which one would you like? Who cares? Throw on the Sunstar to juice up your Ionic Traces for more ability spam. Throw on Crown of Tempest because it now procs on kills on jolted targets. Throw on the Stag and create Rift spam while giving your teammates damage reduction in Rifts. Throw on Getaway Artist and eat your grenade for instant Arc Soul and amplification. Throw on Mantle of Battle Harmony to further boost your weapon damage with Coldheart. Throw on Secant Filaments to give yourself Devour and boost your weapon damage via Empowered Rifts. Throw on Sanguine Alchemy for all I care. Weapon kills extend the duration of the rift you're in. That is the beauty of this setup. The build is in Coldheart and your aspects and fragments. Your exotic tweaks it in the direction you want to take it. You want weapon damage, you want rift uptime, you want ability energy, whatever you want, go take it. This is something that I feel like people have wanted when it comes to build crafting. The exotic doesn't make the build work, it tunes it to your preference. Mod-wise, you're pretty weapon damage focused, so I'm going for stuff that is going to boost that. You go Font of Might crazy. I would say high energy fire, but you're going to be killing stuff way too often for it. Elemental time dilation, elemental armaments, boom, done. Font of Might, go crazy. If it's still season 19 when you're watching this, Monochromatic Maestro is pretty much a given. This is what I'm talking about. Titans, Hunters, don't get me wrong. Your Arc build will still work with this weapon, but this Warlock build actually feels complete. It feels like an actual constructed thing versus just throwing a gun into your setup and the rest of the build is already kind of done. And man, is this strong. Constant blinded targets, super high sustained damage. You don't need anti-barrier or anything in the seasonal activity. You can just throw a storm grenade to stagger the champion and then beam it down with Coldheart. It's a lot of fun. The main flaw is how much ammo you are going to tear through using this thing. If you really want to go special finisher and be in control of your own ammo, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But there isn't a whole lot wrong with just swapping to your power weapon. Maybe it's an arc machine gun. I can pretty easily recommend machine gun. You mow some fools down. You get a bunch of ammo since the game's pretty good about giving you green when you're completely out. And you're back to it. Now, is this a great pub stomper build? Of course it is. It's annihilating things where you're -5, -10 levels under the content. What about the real endgame stuff? Well, like I mentioned earlier, I made a video on trace rifles last year. And let's just say the trace rifles haven't really broken into the meta in endgame content. An issue I had back then is still the issue I have now. If they don't have champion mod support, then they're a bit tougher to justify. This season in particular only has Unstoppable Grenade Launcher as the non-primary weapon with a mod. So equipping Coldheart means you need to rely on your teammates for stuns if you don't equip a grenade launcher yourself, or you now run with a primary and a trace rifle and then a machine gun or something to use when you don't have special ammo. It's also kind of the problem I have with them in seasonal content too. You need champion mods in the Season 19 activity. Now, can you brute force stuff like barrier champions? Absolutely. Dump enough damage into one of them before they pop their shield, you're good. Brute forcing unstoppables, it's also possible, but it's much more annoying, much more of a chore, which tends to mean that you want to bring Unstoppable with you. Season 19, we got Unstoppable Hand Cannon, not a special weapon, and Grenade Launcher, that is a special weapon, it's also a power weapon. So there is a saving grace to a degree in that you can run anti-champion capabilities in your power slot or your kinetic slot, you just need to run with a Grenade Launcher. I know that mod is expensive though, I wish it were a bit cheaper. You're sort of forced into certain weapons, and while in GMs and super high level stuff, I'm kind of okay with that, the seasonal activity is where I want to let loose a bit, and if I want to throw on a trace rifle, the rest of my kit then needs to have anti-champion stuff, and maybe I don't want to do that, you know what I mean? Well, Datto, why not just run no mods and rely on your teammates to do it? How about I be a team player? Huh? How about that? You selfish effing guy. So that's what I got on Coldheart. Warlocks. This is a really fun weapon build to try out that still has room for abilities. I've been calling it the disco build, or like the rave build, because there are just so many effects going off all at once. You got rifts, you got arc souls shooting, then there may be spreading to your teammates from your rift. You got the Coldheart laser beam, you got ability spam, you got wells and ionic traces crawling all over the floor. Titans, Hunters, you could try to use it as well, but I think your main arc builds don't really complement Coldheart's strength, which is standing there like a turret and lasering the crap out of anything in sight. Let me know if you guys have been using Coldheart or a build like this. It's probably going to be my main Warlock build for the season. And also, if you've been wondering this whole video, hey, couldn't I literally just use any other weapon that I want to instead of Coldheart, like Delicate Tomb or something? And the answer is yeah, of course you can. Do whatever you want. I'm just here to tell you about this build because I found it really fun. That's it. Yeah, that's everything. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.